What would you be doing right now if you were already the person that you wanted to be? What would you think? What would you say? What would you do? Were you already the one or the person that you wanted to be? Just by having that thought, just by thinking those things and thinking out of the box, what would I be doing? What would I be thinking? How would I be? Who would I be? What would I be doing if I were this person? Once you have that thought and you ask yourself this question, like do these exercises throughout the day, this will actually change everything, like your inner dialogue, because now you're going outside of yourself and you're thinking outside the box, be like, wait a minute, what would I be doing? So your inner dialogue starts changing. And then it starts redirecting your entire life, based on the feeling states, frequencies, energies. Everything is changing and being redirected by your internal dialogue, because that's what creates your 3D world. Because as we know, the world is you pushed out. So, and your inner dialogue is coming up with these pictures in your mind, whether you're affirming, scripting, visualizing, doesn't matter. It's changing your inner dialogue. Your inner dialogue changes, you picture things differently. Your world has to change when you start asking yourself these questions. And that's what's so powerful about the law of assumption and asking yourself this question. Just do it throughout the day. Do it 10 times a day if you want to. And you will start seeing your world start to shift and change and having these big changes when you start asking yourself this question just throughout the day and as you're falling asleep. That's why I created my meditations, my sleep meditations, a lot of them where you're asking yourself these questions as you're falling asleep, because it's giving you that open-minded awareness and thinking outside the box and observing yourself and changing your inner dialogue, like as you're drifting into sleep and creating this new feeling state. But the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I'm going to bring in a success story where a woman is actually creating the life that she's living based on her inner dialogue. Like her life and the people that she loves are no longer in her life because unconsciously she has this inner dialogue towards them that's keeping them away from her. And you can use this technique just to create, a different life, a good life, a successful life, and bring loved ones into your life. If you're missing anything in your life, it's based on your concept of yourself and your inner dialogue. So in this video, I'm going to give you a simple exercise that you can do if you're having these issues, or if you just want to create something new in your life, you can also use this. But this is a good illustration of how inner dialogue can create problems in your life, and how she fixed it in this story is very spectacular, and I want to share this. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. Okay, so this is what one woman did to turn the tracks to which she had been unhappily tied in the direction in which she wanted to go. For 2 years, she had kept herself estranged from the 3 people she loved most. She had a quarrel with her daughter-in-law, who ordered her from her home. For those 2 years, she had not seen or heard from her son, her daughter-in-law, or her grandson, though she had sent her grandson numerous gifts in the meantime. Every time she thought of her family, which was daily, she carried on a mental conversation with her daughter-in-law, blaming her for the quarrel and accusing her of being selfish. So remember, this is her inner dialogue doing this unconsciously. So she's unconsciously blaming her daughter-in-law for being selfish, which is creating these events to happen where her loved ones are no longer in her life, because she's creating these mental, visualizations, these unconscious visualizations in her mind from her inner dialogue that's creating this life where she's separated from her loved ones. All right, so upon hearing a lecture of mine, so she went and heard a lecture from Neville Goddard, and it was the lecture on the game of life and how to play it. She suddenly realized that she was the cause of the prolonged silence, and that she, and she alone, must do something about it. Recognizing that her goal was to have the former loving relationship, she set herself the task of completely changing her inner talking. All right, so that very night, in her imagination, she constructed 2 loving letters written to her, one from her daughter-in-law and the other from her grandson. In her imagination, she read them over and over and over again until she fell asleep in the joyful mood of having received the letters. So in her imagination, she created letters written to her from her daughter-in-law and her loved ones, new letters changing her inner dialogue. So these letters that are coming from her daughter-in-law in her imagination are now creating a state of joy, or a feeling of joy, as she's falling asleep. So as she's falling asleep, her inner dialogue is now completely reversing itself. It's changing. Everything is changing because she's getting these lovely letters from her daughter-in-law. So her aspect or her inner dialogue is all changing from this, and then it's recreating a different world for her when she wakes up the following day. And she repeated this imaginary act each night for 8 nights. And on the morning of the 9th day, she received one envelope containing 2 letters, one from her daughter-in-law, one from her grandson. They were loving, tender letters inviting her to visit them, almost replicas of those she had constructed mentally. So by using her imagination consciously and lovingly, she had turned the tracks to which she was tied in the direction she wanted to go towards a happy family reunion. I think the most notable part of this, which I want to point out, is changing the inner conversations. Like what visualization does, what affirmations do, is it changes your inner conversations that you're having with these people, whatever instance or whatever problem you're going through in your life, and you're trying to solve that problem. Whenever you have an issue in your life, it's going to be based on your inner conversations towards that person. What are you constantly thinking? So you can even go into meditation. Meditation can be a very powerful exercise for this to determine where your inner talking is. You can just go into, a quick meditation and just observe your thoughts, not fighting them, just watching and seeing where they're going, and then kind of direct your thoughts towards that person, and then allow your mind to start thinking on its own. Where is it going to go unconsciously? And then you can kind of see, how you truly feel, your mind truly feels, and where your inner dialogue truly is about that person. And then you can change that through affirmations or visualizations like she did in this story here, this success story. But you can use affirmations for this, by changing everything and affirming something completely different. Like, my daughter-in-law loves me and she is so passionate, and she's, anything that would contradict or would be the opposite of being selfish. You could change that with an affirmation. Not necessarily if you do have problems visualizing, you can always do an affirmation or even script it, because what you're doing ultimately is just changing your inner conversations, which is producing a different world, a different 3D world that you're traveling to, that you're going to be living in. Or even just changing your inner dialogue by falling asleep to different affirmations. As you're drifting asleep, you have affirmations that you're listening to as you're falling asleep, like my sleep meditations can be very powerful for changing your inner dialogue. And I've got so many different testimonials on this where, people's lives have completely changed just falling asleep listening to these affirmations. So if you're not able to visualize just yet, just start with falling asleep to these affirmations as you're falling asleep. And I'll post one on the screen for you right now. So you click on that and use that as you're falling asleep. Just plug it in. You don't need headphones. You can just play it in the background, or you can use headphones if you like. Just turn the volume down really low. That way it doesn't keep you awake. But listen to that as you go to sleep, and you'll start to see results in your life very, very quickly. All right, that's the end of this video. I'll see you in the next one. And don't forget to give me one thing you guys are grateful for, or anything you want me to use for future content. Any testimonials you have, leave those in the comment box below. I read all the comments. All right, guys, I love you, and I'll see you in the next one.